Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. Thank you for joining us today. We have our very first presentation with US Gold Corp. So excited to get to know the story. With me today, I have Luke Norman, co-founder, who will be walking us through this very exciting US-based multi-asset development story. Before we get into that, this presentation will contain forward-looking statements. If you don't know what they are, you can find them on the company's presentation on their website. And we will do a significant Q&A section, so feel free to enter any questions you have at the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And as many of you know, US Gold is supporting us as part of our holiday charity food bank drive, which we've extended into January because, you know, January is a tough time for food banks as well. So first, to kick things off, hi, Luke. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you on the platform. I guess technically we met last year at Beaver Creek. But yeah, maybe you could start things off by telling us which charity you supported.
Absolutely. Meals on Wheels, which was one that close to my heart, out of Wyoming. So, yeah.
Excellent choice. And thank you so much for supporting the program. Why don't we get started with the presentation and an introduction to yourself, and then we can get into some Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, sure. And I don't want to scare everyone. I'm not going to drag everyone through some droney presentation, but introduction to myself. I've about 27 years in the junior mining space. Cut my teeth Canaccord in around 2000. Got to see the brown bottom and the price of gold. And as we started financing more and more junior mining companies through to about 2005, actually, I started to recognize there was a bit of shortage in well-focused, well-meaning management. So I stepped out of the brokerage side of the business and got into the public company side. I had a very large focus into Nevada in particular. I was supporting, helping Nevada-based companies. Then a friend of mine and I, Jonathan Ord, we put together a company by the name of Gold Standard Ventures, which was very successful, obviously, there. And then 2017, I started US Gold Corp, also with a bit of a plan to execute in Nevada. But here we have evolved into a developer in Wyoming. I'll get into sort of the crux of who we are and what we're doing. US Gold Corp is NASDAQ listed, so a little bit of a twist. You know, generally speaking, I imagine most of the juniors you speak with are TSX or Canadian listed. And we're heading sort of full steam ahead into a production scenario where we expect to produce 110,000 ounces a year over a 10-year period, but a lot more upside to the project than that. So yeah, we'll focus in just primarily on CK, but there is Keystone in Nevada as well. If it'll come up through conversation. We've got a well-rounded board. A lot of people have made a lot of people in the industry a lot of money. I mean, that's what you look to do. So we're all shareholders. We have a active interest in the company, and clearly we're aligned with our shareholders by way of investment. You'll have to excuse my far too young a photo there. It needs updating, but can't have everything all the time. So, as I said, very unique capital structure. We have only 16.5 million shares outstanding. You know, keep in mind that's over a 5-year period of some additional exploration, then engineering into permitting and engineering, now through multiple pre-feasibility studies and completion of a final definitive feasibility study. So we've raised somewhere in the realm of around 90 plus million USD over that time period and managed to keep the share structure over the last 5 years pretty impeccably tight, I'd like to say. We've got, coming out of this Lassonde curve right in the sweet spot there, and clearly in a robust, strong metals and mining market right now. So the right stuff, the right place, definitely at the right time. US assets, US listing, and a good suite of analyst coverage as well. So you find all this on our website anyway. We completed a pre-feasibility study in February of last year of 25. It was our second pre-feasibility study. Clearly, we're in a slightly different market environment then. $2,100 gold and $4.10 copper, as you can see down here, as our benchmarks. And the numbers came out extremely robust. Now, we expect these numbers are going to change significantly from pre-feasibility into our completion of our definitive feasibility. The definitive, by the way, is our next milestone in the company that should be coming within the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's actually a little bit late. We're about 4 or 5 weeks late coming with it, but hey, look, that happens. But the definitive will be designed around same thing, about just shy of 1.75 million ounces of gold equivalents. The equivalence is about 70% in gold value, 30% in copper value. And you can see extraordinary low numbers here on CapEx and on all-in sustaining costs. So this project is far from a marginal asset, but final numbers will be out here in the new year, right here in the new year. Now, there's a reason why costs are very low around the CK project. It is an at-surface deposit. It is a porphyry. Whilst the grade is not extraordinary, again, having it at surface, very low strip, and then more importantly, the location of this deposit relative to the township at Cheyenne. So this is a map, obviously, of southeastern Wyoming. So the Colorado Front Range, Colorado border would be just off the bottom of this map. This is the I-25 highway. That would get you down to Denver International Airport in about an hour and 15 minutes. And running east-west across the map here is the I-80 highway. So that's the major corridor, obviously, between San Francisco and Chicago. But it runs through Reno, Nevada, Elko, Nevada, Salt Lake City, 3 major mining hubs. So it's twinned by Union Pacific Rail. So logistically, bringing equipment in here as we go into construction now is going to be remarkably easy. We're not dealing with a project that's sitting up in Alaska or in the high mountains in the Andes. We're dealing with a project that doesn't require man camps because we have an active employment base here. And again, only an hour and a half away from a major international airport. We have water right to the boundary of the project. We've just amortized a power consumption agreement with Black Hills Energy at 7.6 cents, I believe, a kilowatt hour. There's metal fabrication. I could go on and spiel on for quite some time. Everything we need from an infrastructure and employment basis is all sitting here in Wyoming. So that's why it's such a low cost kind of undertaking. Very simple form of method of mining, open pit, crush grind, flotation, and then ship a dry concentrate off site. So no smelting on site, again, adds to lower costs associated with the project. We're going with actually Jamison cells, and I can talk to that if we get time a little bit later. So not traditional flotation as previously sort of earmarked. Small footprint of a project, which again lowers costs. Short hauls, downhill hauls, small footprint for the crush grind circuit. Now the deposit, I told you the reserve is outlined here in a pit shell. It's, just shy of 1.7 million ounces gold equivalents, but the deposit itself is significantly larger than that. And so we're going to try and harness some additional ounces here in the new year post the definitive feasibility. Why? Because they add so much value to net present, so much additional value to the net present value. When you're dealing with a 10-year mine life, but you're building under SK 1300, a 60-year mining operation, milling operation, every single ounce, every 100,000 ounces you add adds probably $100 million or more to net present value. So we see, upwards of close to another 1 million ounces potential below our outline pit within a sort of what would be considered the resource pit. And there is southeast extension to the deposit. So, wonderful deposit to have and to be harnessing. Again, you can see here some of the highest grade mineralization, in fact, is right at surface. So 0.88 to 1 strip ratio through the reserve. We'll probably pick up a little more strip, obviously, as we increase the size of the deposit. But that favors very nicely to the fact that our strip, which is not accounted for in any value marker within our pre-feasibility or our definitive for that matter, our strip is actually a highly valuable form of aggregate that's competed for all around this part of Wyoming and into the Colorado Front Range. So There's going to be some real value to our waste rock, and that story will be told in the future. So just a kind of a wrap up, a lot of social license, a lot of work in state, over the 4 or 5 years it took to permit this, but we are on state ground. So we managed to get through the entire process. We are a fully permitted, shovel ready operation. The only thing we're missing now is somewhere between $350 and $400 million. I guesstimate it's going to take to build this definitive feasibility to come. Post-production, actually, the pit will be used as a water reservoir to help support the local community. So a pretty neat kind of storyline to it. So just in a wrap up here, we're fully permitted. We've completed all the advanced engineering. You've got a definitive on the way. We have actually done a complete aggregate market study on our waste material. It's about $20 a ton rock. There's 40 million tons of it sitting there, having been harvested for free. Post-production, so that's something else, another variable that will be brought into the company later on. We've had a lot of interest in financing this project. Why? Because we're one of the only permitted projects, shovel-ready projects out there in North America, so very fortunate for that. I mentioned that the pit will be used as a pit storage facility post-production, but we've also managed, again, to secure very close-by water for the project. So now we are at this point in time, we are ready for construction and production. So that's kind of a real quick summary on us, Deborah.
That's really helpful. Did you want to talk about any of the other assets in your pipeline, or just focus on?
Well, I would, yeah. I mean, look, if I'm sure there's the interest, with the market that we're in right now, but this one particular project that we have, which was our flagship asset prior to 2020, prior to us bringing in George B as our CEO. George is a well-accomplished mine builder. He cut his teeth amongst other locations at Goldstrike on the north end of the Carlin Trend, which really was a transformative project it made Barrick who Barrick are today, but it was transformative for the entire gold mining sector as they went into these larger, more disseminated gold systems. So fast forward in Nevada to today, and Barrick's flagship, of course, is the Cortez complex. Recent news out of one of their new discoveries, 4 Mile, has added somewhere in the realm of about $20 billion to their already huge market cap. But even just the Cortez Hills discovery itself, that lifted Placer Dome from a $4 billion market cap to an $11 billion market cap, where Barrick took them out. This is elephant country. And we have sitting just across the valley, 10 miles away, the Keystone project. And Keystone is a 20 square mile standalone domal district with the same geology, a huge arsenic anomaly, which is very important for Nevada Carlin style gold. And yeah, we've got that in the portfolio, and I want to get this, the excitement up around this project and get it explored at some juncture in the near future. But it is, to have a large district scale project like this, a standalone in a junior, is already unique enough. I mean, that was the storyline again at Gold Standard Ventures when John and I put that together back in 2010, I think it was, or 12. Same story. We had a standalone district on the Carlin Trend in that instance. Well, this project here, 20 plus square miles, multi-intrusive, with the same stratigraphy as what is at the neighboring Cortez complex. That is the all-important wind band, which is the host for the big gold deposits in and around Cortez Hills, is omnipresent here within Keystone. We drilled some scout holes back 2017, 2018. We had 1,800 foot sections of heavily altered lower plate rock with all the earmarks, all the signs you want to see for big Carlin systems. So this project definitely needs light of day right now. We've been sitting on it waiting for a gold bull market. But clearly our marketplace, the entire value in the company right now is derived around the CK Gold project. So it might be a smart asset for us at some point to spin out and leave shareholders of record as shareholders, new investors in this project. Because this is monster territory. And again, I implore anyone who's got an interest in this style of opportunity to go to our website or reach out to the company, and I'd be more than happy to do a deeper dive for you just into what the potential is of this project. But our neighbor has somewhere in the realm of 60 million ounces of gold and growing, and we've got the same geological backdrop. We've got everything, all the ingredients that we need for major discovery here.
Got it. So you're not spending a lot on Keystone or Chalice right now. You're really dedicated, or sorry, not CK, Keystone and Chalice, and you're
Correct.
really dedicated to CK.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
It's a smart move. That's how we've managed to keep that capital structure so tight. Is just taking our time and focusing in on what was going to be the biggest market driver for us in the bear market that we've just suffered through for the preceding 4 years to the last 12 months.
And so your plan would be to get CK into production and then start to deploy capital into Keystone and Chalice to self-fund them?
No, I think as I mentioned,
spin them out.
Spin them out. I think certainly spin Keystone out. I think it's the most obvious thing to do. They are capital intensive, those kinds of exploration projects. It's not cheap drilling in Nevada. It's not shallow. And you're using the drill really as your iterative process to discovery. It's undercover geology, and it requires a lot of patience and a lot of investment. But man, when you get into them and you make that discovery, the wins are massive. Mm-hmm. A big lottery ticket, I refer to it as.
Well, I'd like to have a few of those. Yeah. You recently contracted major components like flotation equipment and partnered on power and infrastructure. How do these engineering decisions influence both recoveries, CapEx, and how confident are you in the construction cost estimate today?
Well, the construction cost estimate today is non-existent because we're really just still working off of a pre-feasibility study that was completed in February of last year. But what that led to was a bunch of optimization work beyond it. So on recoveries, for example, we switched from traditional flotation cells to Jameson cells. The Jameson cell is an enclosed float cell where they then use pumps to pump air into the reagent, microbubbles as they refer to them. And what it's done is actually led to better recoveries. We've touched on that in a press release previously, but those recoveries will be much better harnessed in our soon to come definitive feasibility. But so, we are seeing better recoveries out of the Jameson cell. We were fortunate enough to be able to secure 2 of them through Glencore Technologies, with our name sitting on them, waiting to be shipped to us. But there's been a myriad of improvements that have gone on around the engineering, and even down to the fact that the Jameson cell requires less warehousing, etc. So those costs will be impactful on the project. But again, we're certainly expecting the CapEx to increase.
So CK is permitted for mining and continues to secure environmental and operating approvals. What permit bottlenecks, if any, remain, including offsite water management, and how are you managing them proactively?
So those, I can say, thankfully, are all in our rear view mirror. We have secured everything from wastewater management. That was a key permit that was conditional up until about May of last year. We were approved that. The final permit that May of last year, May of 24. Getting lost in the calendar here. The last permit that was awarded to us, the final condition was air quality, and that was just because they were tied up doing looking at other projects at the time. The Department of Environmental Qualities in Wyoming, who oversee the permit process for us. So we have every permit in hand. We've done some adaptations a little bit within our permit to mine, but we've been awarded the permit to mine and have had it for over 12 months. We also have an industrial sightings permit, which is exciting because of the size of the venture that we're undertaking. It allows the state to deploy capital into additional infrastructure surrounding the project, whether it be fire hydrants or bus stops or whatever it is that they decide that they need to deploy. So it's beneficial to the community as well. But yeah, we're like I said, we are shovel ready.
Talking about the community, what's your engagement strategy with local communities and regulators to ensure sustained support as you transition to construction and production?
So George is the consummate mine builder. He's built mines again, all the way through North America and down into South America. He built some very big assets for Barrick in South America. And, if you're familiar with having to deal with countries like Chile, Peru, or Argentina, or in some instances where he was dealing with cross-border projects, social license is everything. It is everything. It's expensive, what they had to do, in South America, dewatering plants and all that stuff. But without social license, without the approval and agreement of the communities around you, you are dead in the water. Well, we knew that going in right from the onset with CK. So, and we also knew, look, we're the first hard rock mine in Wyoming in 100 years. So there was going to be a lot of misconception. We knew that. So we faced it head on. We were doing multiple town hall meetings, every couple of months, town hall meetings for the broader community, for the more localized community close to the project. It was far more hands-on again. We had a standalone website that was made available to the entire community, which took you through everything, like the impacts of blasting, the noise control, beepers on trucks, air quality. How's that going to impact the style of mining? Are they going to be putting in a smokestack? Just explaining our way very kind of rudimentarily by way of a website, just to have all that information there. And then we also hired on a local lobbyist. I know that sounds like a swear word, but somebody who could, inform all the different parties of our intent and what we were planning to do. Jason Beggar, and then even going through the permit phase itself, we ended up bringing in the previous governor, Jonathan Friedenthal, and his attorney general at the time, Pat Crank. They became consultants to us and helped us work through the due process of permitting. So it has been all important, but it's been extremely well managed by George and his team. I can't take any credit for that side of it.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Just a couple more questions from me. So with recent inclusion in key market indexes and expanded conference participation, what changes have you seen in liquidity, institutional engagement, and investor interest? And maybe you can talk about your index inclusions.
Yeah. Well, look, I could arm wave about our involvement in doing conferences and our remarkable ability to promote our story. But let's be honest, it's the metal prices. They've been massive for us. Now, I quipped or threw out a little moniker earlier, the right stuff, the right place, the right place at the right time. Well, I mean, look at the remarkable luck or fortune, I guess, of timing for us as a company. We come with our full suite of permits ready to go to develop the project November of 2024. It was still hard to get people to pay any attention at the time. We did a $10.2 million capital raise. Eric Sprott was the lead order. That was our first sort of soiree into the institutions. Then we spent another 12 months from November through to the beginning of, December of last year, where we didn't have to go back to market. We had warrant exercises coming in from previous issuances. We were not very capital intensive anyway because we were completing definitive feasibility, etc. So our second fundraising in over 12 months was just completed just before Christmas. And then we ended up with the likes of Franklin Templeton out of San Francisco, Mackenzie out of Toronto, Libra, New York. Huge orders, obviously validation round people supporting finally the accomplishments that we've achieved as a company. And as we were doing that placement, we saw the stock soar even higher. You know, we ran up to close to $23 a share. So it has been really, truly, I can only point to the metal prices at that point. Yeah, the permits, that really had an uplift for us, but the metal prices and being one of the only projects really strapped up, ready to go. And I still think our valuation is nowhere near where it should be currently. I think we've got a lot of upside. So, you know, there'll be some revalue markers on their way, and we're looking forward to them.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about those revaluation markers. Could you give us sort of milestones and timelines and what investors can expect over the next year or so?
Yes. So the next milestone for us is the definitive feasibility. I mean, there's little bits of news and such going on in the background. Like we've already, you know, we've triggered the development of the haul road, entry road to the project. But the definitive feasibility, that's the big marker everyone's waiting on right now. And then right off the back of that, we're going to initiate our project financing. So project level financing, it's going to be predominantly debt. We've done a remarkably good job. I use that word a lot today, haven't I, Deborah? But we've done an extremely good job of keeping this project completely unencumbered. Aside from a state royalty, which is payable like anywhere, if you're mining anywhere, it's a 2.1% net smelter royalty to the state. There is no one with hooks in us. There's no banking mandates. There is not a single overhang to this project. So the project financing is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of sources of capital chasing opportunities like this, you know, and very few opportunities like this. So I imagine a very debt-heavy project-level financing. That will also be lead to some form of a re-rate. I think that could spark some merger and acquisition interest from both our end and from outsiders looking in. And then ultimately, yeah, we'd like to bring some more ounces into this deposit because they're there. Under SK 1300, it's not quite as liberal as the NI 43-101 in Canada, so we don't really get to talk about the blue sky additional ounces, so it'd be nice to add some to the project. So I guess where I'm going is we're going to be news rich, there's going to be information rich, and I think value rich. If this marketplace, I'm knocking on wood there, if this marketplace can sustain itself and even, geez, you know, just stay above $4,000 an ounce, it's a win-win for everybody in this industry.
Agreed. Right time, right place, right asset, right management team. Seems like you got it all, Luke.
Oh God, that just sounds like a recipe for. Yeah, we're trying. We've been very fortunate.
I had one last question, and you might have covered it, so apologies. So, what do you think of in terms of timeline to be at a construction decision, and then a timeline for construction?
Construction decision is made. I hate to say it. I know we don't have the definitive in hand, but we've already started building the road into the project. That's a simple one. It is closing the project financing. We're going to be very particular about our project financing. You know, these things, these documents are laden with minefields. You know, the little things, little triggers that if you mess up just a little bit in you know, meeting guidance or whatever, the debt structure can blow up in your face. They're very, very challenging documents to work through. So we're going to focus on getting a structure and a facility to build this that is bulletproof for us as investors. And then we will commence the actual real construction of this project. Now, whether that takes weeks or months is, you know, really down to what kind of term sheets we see. We've already seen a lot of term sheets. We've been seeing term sheets now for coming up on 15 months. So it's not foreign to us. We're working with some very good groups who are going to help us work through that field, but ultimately that's go time. Once we raise the money, it's on.
And then your timeline to build?
Oh, sorry. Yes. 18 months.
18 months. Okay.
18 months. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't have any further questions. It sounds like you've got some really exciting news coming, starting with the feasibility. So looking forward to that. You think that'll be out in the next couple of weeks?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks. I think that's a really timely update. Appreciate you taking the time and supporting our charity fundraiser. Thank you to the audience members for your participation and questions. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I hope that we continue in this bull market for at least 2026 and into 2027. It's been really exciting times.
Yeah, very much so.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.